The body's defense system is automatic, and yet to a certain degree it is a secondary rather than primary system, coming into mobilization as such only when the body is threatened. The body's main purpose is not only to survive, but to maintain a quality of existence at certain levels, and that quality itself promotes health and fulfillment. A definite biologically pertinent fear alerts the body and allows it to react completely and naturally. You might be reading a newspaper headline, for example, as you cross a busy street. Long before you are consciously aware of the circumstances, your body might leap out of the path of an approaching car. The body is doing what it is supposed to do. Though consciously you were not afraid, there was a biologically pertinent fear that was acted upon. If, however, you dwell mentally in a generalized environment of fear, the body is given no clear line of action, allowed no appropriate response. Look at it this way. An animal, not necessarily just a wild one in some native forest, but an ordinary dog or cat, reacts in a certain fashion. It is alert to everything in its environment. A cat does not anticipate danger from a penned dog 4 blocks away, however, nor bother wondering what would happen if that dog were to escape and find the cat's cozy yard. Many people, however, do not pay attention to everything in their environments, but through their beliefs concentrate only upon, quote-unquote, the ferocious dog 4 blocks away. That is, they do not respond to what is physically present or perceivable in either space or time, but instead dwell upon the threats that may or may not exist, ignoring at the same time other pertinent data that are immediately at hand. The mind then signals threat, but a threat that is nowhere physically present, so that the body cannot clearly respond. It therefore reacts to a pseudo-threatening situation, and is caught between gears, so to speak, with resulting biological confusion. The body's responses must be specific. The overall sense of health, vitality, and resiliency is a generalized condition of contentment, brought about, however, by multitudinous specific responses. Left alone, the body can defend itself against any disease, but it cannot defend itself appropriately against an exaggerated general fear of disease on the individual's part. It must mirror your own feelings and assessments. Usually now, your entire medical systems literally generate as much disease as is cured, for you are everywhere hounded by the symptoms of various diseases, and filled with the fear of disease, overwhelmed by what seems to be the body's propensity toward illness, and nowhere is the body's vitality or natural defense system stressed. Private disease, then, happens also in a social context. This context is the result of personal and mass beliefs that are intertwined at all cultural levels, and so to that extent serve private and public purposes. The illnesses generally attributed to all different ages are involved. Those of the elderly, again, fit in with your social and cultural beliefs, the structure of your family life. Old animals have their own dignity, and so should old men and women. Senility is a mental and physical epidemic, a needless one. You quote-unquote catch it because when you are young, you believe that old people cannot perform. There are no inoculations against beliefs, so when young people with such beliefs grow old, they become quote-unquote victims. The kinds of diseases change through historical periods. Some become fashionable, others go out of style. All epidemics, however, are mass statements, both biologically and psychically. They point to mass beliefs that have brought about certain physical conditions that are abhorrent at all levels. They often go hand in hand with war and represent biological protests. Whenever the conditions of life are such that its quality is threatened, there will be such a mass statement. The quality of life must be at a certain level, so that the individuals of a species, of any and all species, can develop. In your species, the spiritual, mental, and psychic abilities add a dimension that is biologically pertinent. There simply must be, for example, a freedom to express ideas, an individual tendency, a worldwide social and political context in which each individual can develop his or her abilities and contribute to the species as a whole. Such a climate depends, however, upon many ideas not universally accepted. And yet the species is so formed that the biological importance of ideas cannot be stressed too strongly. More and more, the quality of your lives is formed through the subjective realities of your feelings and mental constructions. Again, beliefs that foster despair are biologically destructive. They cause the physical system to shut down. If mass action against appalling social or political conditions is not effective, then other means are taken, and these are often in the guise of epidemics or natural disasters. The blight is wiped out in one way or another. Such conditions, however, are the results of beliefs, which are mental, and so the most vital work must always be done in that area. An animal has a sense of its own biological integrity. So does a child. In all forms of life, each individual is born into a world already provided for it, with circumstances favorable to its growth and development, a world in which its own existence rests upon the equally valid existence of all other individuals and species, so that each contributes to nature's whole. In that environment, there is a cooperative sociability of a biological nature that is understood by the animals in their way and taken for granted by the young of your own species. The means are given so that the needs of the individual can be met. The granting of those needs furthers the development of the individual, its species, and by inference, all others in the fabric of nature. Survival, of course, is important, but it is not the prime purpose of a species, in that it is a necessary means by which the species can attain its main goals. Of course, a species must survive to do so, but it will, however, purposefully avoid survival if the conditions are not practically favorable to maintain the quality of life or existence that is considered basic. A species that senses a lack of this quality can, in one way or another, destroy its offspring, not because they could not survive otherwise, but because the quality of that survival would bring about vast suffering, for example, so distorting the nature of life as to almost make a mockery of it. Each species seeks for the development of its abilities and capacities in a framework in which safety is a medium for action. Danger in that context exists under certain conditions clearly known to the animals, clearly defined. The prey is known, for example, as is the hunter. But even the natural prey of another animal does not fear the quote-unquote hunter when the hunter animal is full of belly, nor will the hunter then attack. There are also emotional interactions among the animals that completely escape you, and biological mechanisms, so that animals felled as natural prey by other animals, quote-unquote, understand their part in nature. They do not anticipate death before it happens, however. The fatal act propels the consciousness out from the flesh, so that in those terms it is merciful. During their lifetimes, animals in their natural state enjoy their vigor and accept their worth. They regulate their own births and their own deaths. The quality of their lives is such that their abilities are challenged. They enjoy contrasts, that between rest and motion, heat and cold, being in direct contact with natural phenomena that everywhere quickens their experience. They will migrate if necessary to seek conditions more auspicious. They are aware of approaching natural disasters, and when possible will leave such areas. They will protect their own, and according to circumstances and conditions, they will tend their own wounded. Even in contests between young and old males for control of a group, under natural conditions, the loser is seldom killed. Dangers are pinpointed clearly so that bodily reactions are concise. The animal knows he has a right to exist and a place in the fabric of nature. This sense of biological integrity supports him. Man, on the other hand, has more to contend with. He must deal with beliefs and feelings often so ambiguous that no clear line of action seems possible. The body often does not know how to react. If you believe that the body is sinful, for example, you cannot expect to be happy, and health will most likely elude you, for your dark beliefs will blemish the psychological and biological integrity with which you were born. The species is in a state of transition, one of many. This one began, generally speaking, when the species tried to step apart from nature in order to develop the unique kind of consciousness that is presently your own. That consciousness is not a finished product, however, but one meant to change, to evolve and develop. Certain artificial divisions were made along the way that must now be dispensed with. You must return, wiser creatures, to the nature that spawned you, not only as loving caretakers, but as partners with the other species of the earth. You must discover once again the spirituality of your biological heritage. The majority of accepted beliefs, religious, scientific, and cultural, have tended to stress a sense of powerlessness, impotence, and impending doom, a picture in which man and his world is an accident production with little meaning, isolated yet seemingly ruled by a capricious God. Life is seen as, quote-unquote, a valley of tears, almost as a low-grade infection from which the soul can be cured only by death. Religious, scientific, medical, and cultural communications stress the existence of danger, minimize the purpose of the species or of any individual member of it, or see mankind as the one erratic, half-insane member of an otherwise orderly realm of nature. Any or all of the above beliefs are held by various systems of thought. All of these, however, strain the individual's biological sense of integrity, reinforce ideas of danger, and shrink the area of psychological safety that is necessary to maintain the quality possible in life. The body's defense systems become confused to varying degrees. I do not intend to give a treatise upon the biological structures of the body and their interworkings, but only to add such information in that line that is not currently known, and is otherwise important to the ideas I have in mind. I am far more concerned with more basic issues. The body's defenses will take care of themselves if they are allowed to, and if the psychological air is cleared of the true, quote-unquote, carrier of disease.